Welcome to the Sacred Resonance Podcast. I'm Reverend Larry J. Morris III, and I'm glad you stayed. Now, y'all know how I like to begin. So before we continue, take one breath with me. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Let your body notice that you're still here. Before I say anything else, I want to name this clearly, that this episode is not about taking in more information. This episode is about becoming present again. Not awareness as accumulation, not awareness as productivity, and not awareness as something else that you add to your life, but awareness as return. When I use words like listening or noticing in this space, I'm not only talking about sound, I'm talking about attunement, how we sense, perceive, and receive what is already communicating through our bodies, our breath, our emotion, our memory, and our spirit. For me, sacred awareness is not passive. It is not spiritualized silence. It is not waiting politely for God to speak while ignoring your own lived experience. Sacred awareness is an orientation. It's a posture. It's a way of being present to what is already here. And I think the reason that many of us need to relearn sacred awareness slowly and intentionally is because most of us were trained out of awareness long before we were trained into productivity or performance or even survival. Before we were told what matters, our bodies already knew. And over time, we have learned to trust that knowing, or rather not to trust that knowing. I'll begin by naming what sacred awareness is not. Because again, many of us have inherited some distorted version of sacred awareness. And we were taught that those distorted versions of sacred awareness or awareness were holy. So what sacred awareness is not? It is not ignoring your instincts in the name of faith or spirituality. It is not overriding exhaustion with spiritual language. It's not calling anxiety discernment or calling numbness peace. If obedience once meant overriding your own inner signals, then awareness may feel dangerous at first. If you were praised for endurance without consent, then slowing down long enough to notice may actually feel irresponsible. And if your survival required you to stay alert and productive and agreeable, come on somebody, then presence itself may feel like a risk. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're unlearning and relearning. It means that you're unlearning something that you once used to keep you alive, right? A survival strategy. Sacred awareness does not bypass the body. I'm going to say that again. Sacred awareness does not bypass the body. It does not flatten emotion or rush clarity. Sacred awareness includes sensation and breath. It includes tension. It includes what you don't yet have a language for. And if your spirituality or faith taught you to distrust those things, then relearning awareness will feel unfamiliar, maybe even destabilizing. But that unfamiliarity is not a warning sign. I think it's actually a threshold. There's a reason this episode comes where it does in this season. Sacred awareness is rarely learned first. It's often learned after something breaks. There's something about breaking that interrupts the noise. It strips us down to what's essential. It exposes how much energy we were spending maintaining appearances, explanations, and identities that no longer fit. But there's something about being in the wilderness, that kind of weird place Well, you learn quickly that survival depends on awareness. Being aware of your own limits, awareness of hunger, awareness of fear without letting it drive, awareness of the divine without demanding immediacy or an immediate answer. The wilderness itself does not reward speed. You have to be cautious. The wilderness does not respond to performance alone. It doesn't care how you articulate your theology. The wilderness simply asks one thing: are you paying attention? Sacred awareness is not learned in comfort or a classroom. It is learned when old strategies stop working. In that moment, when what used to work no longer works, it isn't failure. I think it's initiation. And I'll say this plainly, because your body is one of the first places that truth shows itself. Before you have words, your body knows. It knows when something fits. You can feel it. It knows when something constricts. It knows when something is asking more of you than you can give. And sometimes in your body, it shows up as tightness. You know that feeling. Sometimes it can show up as shallow breath. Sometimes it shows up as heaviness that you can't really explain, but you feel it. And sometimes it comes or shows as a surprising sense of ease, right? The body communicates good things as well. And none of that is accidental. Sacred awareness asks a simple question: what is my body communicating right now? Not tomorrow, not after you explain it to someone else, not once you've made sense of it, but what is my body communicating right now? Right now. And this is important to say too, because you can stay, well, the question is, can you stay present long enough to receive that information without arguing with it? Can you stay present with your body long enough to receive what your body is telling you without arguing with it or trying to rationalize it or trying to interpret it right away? The truth is that many of us notice just long enough to override ourselves. We hear or experience what our body is saying, and then we push it away, or we try to rename it, or refocus on something else. But I want to talk about breath for a moment. Breath is one of the most honest guides that we have. When life becomes overwhelming, breath becomes shallow. You know this, you feel this. When fear takes over, breath tightens. And when safety returns, breath deepens naturally. You don't have to fix it or change it. Your breath simply communicates. Your breath communicates the truth even when we are disconnected from ourselves. And sacred awareness asks us to pay attention to breath without forcing it. No controlling, no managing, no correcting, just simply noticing. And if you want a practice that requires no tools or language, no explanation, you can begin here. Try this. Once a day, pause and ask, how is my breath right now? Not how it should be, not how calm you look on the inside, right? On the outside, rather. But how is your actual breath? And whatever the answer is, that's your starting place. I think one of the hardest parts of sacred awareness is resisting the urge to interpret too quickly. We want answers, we want clarity and resolution, but awareness often asks us to stay with the information before assigning meaning. What if the sadness doesn't need a lesson yet? Can you just stay with the sadness? What if the restlessness isn't a calling, but a signal? What if the confusion isn't failure, but data? Can you sit with it long enough? Sacred awareness says, let me stay here a little longer before deciding what it means. And I think this is where trust grows. Not trust in certainty, but trust in presence, the divine presence and your own. All right, so I want to offer you a practice. Again, it's nothing elaborate, nothing performative. You can do this sitting or standing or even moving. You ready? Okay. Place one hand somewhere grounding. It could be your chest, your stomach, your thigh. Take one natural breath. Don't change it. Just one natural breath. And then ask quietly, what is asking for my attention right now? Don't answer immediately. Just wait. Whatever arises, a sensation, an emotion, a memory, an image, acknowledge it without fixing it. Yeah, that's it. This is not a diagnostic tool. It's not a productivity exercise. It's a way of practicing presence. Sacred awareness is a spiritual discipline or a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual practice because it requires humility. Sacred awareness assumes that I don't know everything. It assumes that my body holds wisdom. It assumes that the divine does not rush. It assumes that presence itself is not empty. Sacred awareness teaches patience without passivity. Passivity. Ooh, words mean things. It teaches discernment without panic. And over time, as you practice this sacred awareness, it rebuilds trust with yourself. Not necessarily confidence, but trust. The kind of trust that says, I can stay with what's real. Whatever's coming up, I can stay with it without rushing, without pushing it away, but I can simply be with whatever arises. You don't need to become more spiritual to be more aware. You simply need to be more honest. Presence is not something you can master, it's something that you return to again and again and again and again and again. And each time you come home to yourself a little more. May your awareness be gentle. May your breath be truthful. May you trust what is already present. Amen and Ashe. If this journey resonates with you, you're welcome to connect at sacredresonance.co or follow along for future sessions. As we move forward, we will explore the truth that asks to be faced. There's a truth that is asking to be faced. But until then, be gentle with yourself and trust the quiet work unfolding in you. This is Sacred Resonance.